I just left my therapy appointment, and it's funny because somebody was asking me the other day, like, what do you talk about when you have your therapy sessions? And what's funny was whenever I decided to start going back at the end of last year, I was like, oh my God, like, where do I even begin? Because it had been quite a while since I saw a therapist on a regular basis. And now I've been going weekly for months. And every week it's a little bit different, and we've been kind of leading up to it. And the reason why I sought this particular therapist out was because of the fact that he specialized in EMDR therapy, and I've had a lot of trauma that I do know has held me back. And we kind of waver back and forth of what, there's some days that there's some things that just need to be talked out then, and then other times we just get back to the root of things, of slowly making progress. But today we just talked about what is going on, and relationships, and the things that you sometimes have to learn to accept, and other things that you can change. And that's something that I have learned through my 3.5 years of sobriety, is that, learning to accept the things that you can change, and change the things that you can't. And I was telling him about my relationship with my adopted parents, that I left home at 15, and for years they made me feel guilty that it was like always my fault and that I could do something about it. And so I spent the latter half of my young adulthood and early adulthood constantly trying to change myself. And I remember that last moment when I was 27, I had started going to therapy for the very first time, and I had made all these changes and had all these aha moments. And I remember my father came to visit me in Texas. I remember sitting on the bed crying and apologizing and saying, I've changed, and I thought that he would say he was proud of me. I was always looking for that recognition and that pat on the back. And it really went unnoticed. And then him and my mother both said, like, oh my God, you went to therapy? Like, why would you do that? And they actually chastised me for doing that, where I thought, like, I was so proud of myself and so proud of the progress I made. And they told me the reason was, is like, if you do that, somebody can take your kids away from you. And in fact, they were the only ones that actually threatened to take my kids away from me, even though I was not an unfit mother. They just didn't agree with my type of parenting. But I remember after that trip, I basically was just like, I realized that no matter how much I change, for some people, it's just not going to be good enough. And that I have this strong desire for growth. Like, that's one of my main driving forces, is to constantly grow. And it's not change, but it's evolve. But I realized that it was never going to be good enough for them. And no matter what I did, it was what it was. Like, it was not going to change with them. And I've had to learn that with other people, is that, like, I have always taken this, huge responsibility, like, oh, it's my job to fix things. It's my job to change. And maybe they'll accept me and they'll love me that more. And then I realized that that's just not the case for some people. And so my personal growth has been now just for myself, and learning to let go of the people that don't accept me for who I am, and really seek out the people that are going to love me for who I am now and grow with me. So that's what we talked about today. And what was funny is my therapist was talking about this book called Educated, and it was from a chick named Tara Westover, and she was raised in a Mormon household, like I was raised in a Jehovah's Witness household, and she ended up leaving, I think dealt with a lot of the ostracism that I have dealt with, and she ended up writing a book. So he was telling me all about it. I was like, can you hold on? And I was like, I pulled up my phone, because I always save in my notes section books that I want to read. And what was so funny was the second to last book that I'd saved in there was exactly that book. And I remembered that I was reading, I don't know, like a health or fitness magazine, and there was a interview from Reese Witherspoon, and that was the latest book that she was writing. And it's so funny because I've really been thinking about the goal that I set years ago about writing my book, and I shared it with this new girl that I connected with on Instagram, who helps like aspiring authors. And I thought, how funny, because this book that this Tara Westover wrote was a memoir about her upbringing, which sounds a lot like mine. And really, when I was reading about it in this magazine with the interview with Reese Witherspoon, I didn't honestly realize it was about that. So it's so funny that the universe delivers the things that you need. And anyways, I'm going to check it out. If you've read that book or heard of her, let me know. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on it.